Welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader. And before I start, I do want to thank you all for your comments. I appreciate them all. And for Derica Seals 1882 and Hams for Me 2026, I have your suggestions. I'm gonna get to those. I just have a couple books, a book in a series that I want to dive into, but I will get to your suggestions. Just wanted to let you all know that. Now, what we're going to dive into today, again, it is a part of a series, but it's one of those series where every book can be read as a standalone. So the name of the series is the Bad Bridesmaid Series. It's by Noelle Adams, and we're going to do book 1, The Mistake. We meet Amanda Griffin, and she lives in Virginia, and the way they describe it, it's in the Richmond area. Okay. She is currently waiting outside on someone that she considers like a best friend that she's known basically her whole life. This guy's name is Dave Williams. Now, Dave is studying a lot because it's finals. He's going to school to be a lawyer. And we find out that our girl Amanda has her MBA already, and she's already got an entry level job at a marketing firm. They're both 24. Again, known each other their whole lives, grew up in Richmond. She has chosen tonight to tell him that she thinks they should move to a deeper space, basically confessing these feelings that she has for him, because we find out she's basically been in love with him her whole life. So this should be pretty interesting. So she tried not to dress up too much, like this is a special occasion, but she didn't want to dress up too much. Then he would be like, well, what are you dressing up for? You know what I mean? So again, we'll see how this goes. So then she gets a text message from her mom, and it's in a group text with her mom and her sister, and her mom says that she's lonely, and that's her cue for someone to come and spend time with her. So she immediately messages that she's already got plans, and her sister Stacy is like, "Oh, I'm not doing anything, mom. I'll come over." Kind of made her feel bad, but again, she feels like you know she is a good daughter to her mom. She's good to the dad. The dad, apparently he's remarried, new kid, and she tries to spend time with both sides of her family. And the thing is this, the girl had plans, and she didn't need to be guilted into spending time with the mom. Okay? I'm sorry. Like, it's not your kid's job to fix the fact that you feel lonely. It's just not. They have their own lives. You also need to try to fix that feeling. You know what I mean? And it seems just kind of lazy to just like kind of throw up the bat signal, you know what I mean? Of I'm lonely, to try and guilt trip the kids to coming to see you. That's kind of shitty. Cuz it's like you don't really care what they got going on. You just want them to come and help you. You know what I mean? And it's not even helping. I don't even want to say help, because if it was their mom needing real help, they do it clearly. There's no problem with that. I don't want it to seem like a parent shouldn't ask for help. I'm not saying that, but this woman, just based on that, she seems kind of one of those, oh, if you didn't see me on this particular day, you don't really love me. One of those type of parents. So that's why I was just glad that she legitimately had plans that she didn't want to break to appease her mother. While she's waiting outside of this restaurant, the a guy walks past, and this guy is his name's Robert Castleman, and he is the uncle of one of her good girlfriends named Taylor. Now, this guy, he's a little older. He used to live in Europe, but apparently he relocated back to Virginia, and he's here to stay. He had moved back because his mom was sick and she passed away, but he decided to just stay near family. Okay? And so he says her name and asks her if she was waiting on a date, and she says she's waiting on a really good friend. And he makes the comment, well, you're kind of dressed up for someone that's just a friend. She, of course, takes offense to this, and we find out he's there waiting on a woman. And she says, is this a girlfriend? And he says, I don't do girlfriends. I just do dates. She, of course, finds that to be shitty, but, he likes what he likes. And my thing is, as long as he's not trying to make someone go outside of what they want and they're okay with it, it works. You know? I say the same thing even when we have the books where, they have, unconventional, shall we call it? Sexual type of appetites. You know what I mean? As long as you find people that are into it, that's fine. The problem is people trying to make people do things they don't want to do. So anyway, she at that time gets a text message from Dave saying that the study session is running late and he'll just have to make it up to her later. She, of course, is disappointed. The guy Robert makes the comment, telling her if you were a priority to that man, he'd make you a priority. If he's not making time for you, it's because you're not a priority. It upset her, but it also made her think. And if she really thinks about it, she has always put more effort into this friendship than he has. And what she decides is she needs to stop doing that. She needs to focus on herself, focus on this new job that she's got going on. If something in the future opens up for them, she's willing to pursue it, but maybe she shouldn't be so pressed to go after it right now. So then Robert gets a text. His date is saying, she's just parked the car. She kind of felt some type of way. And, because it's like, good grief, she gets canceled on, but he still gets his date. And she just says to him, see you around, and she leaves. We fast forward 4 years later. We are now at the wedding of Amanda's sister, Stacy. Guess who Stacy's marrying? Dave Williams. Yes, the man that Amanda has been in love with for over 15 years is marrying her sister. So this is a very hard day for her, okay? She is trying to keep from breaking down. She's got to remain happy because if anyone sees a slip, they're going to want to know like what's wrong with you. So this is pretty difficult. She sees the guy Robert Castleman. He's there because Taylor, her friend, he knows, the family, so he of course got an invite. And he's watching her. It's freaking Amanda out. So then her mother comes up to her. Her mother is just a complete drama fucking queen. She's acting as if she planned this wedding and, she's just so overwhelmed. We find out Amanda planned this wedding. All the mom would do was complain and say that she didn't like stuff, and that was it. Our girl Amanda, planned the wedding on top of having a full-time job, which is wild. And the mom is upset right now because apparently she and the people she's talking to have gone 5 minutes without someone coming to fill their champagne glasses. And she wanted Amanda to talk to the waiters. There's only 2 waiters. So clearly we can see, the mother's self-centered. I felt like that was the right assessment with that mother. You know, completely concerned about herself, not really caring about other folks, wanting someone else to take care of it for her, okay? So she's clearly that type of person. And, poor thing. We also find out that they got together, Dave and Stacy, 2 months ago, and they're now getting married. So this was like this whirlwind relationship, and then all of this got put on her. But I'm probably 100% certain she probably offered to do it to try and prove that she was okay with this. I don't think the sister knew that she was in love with the guy. I don't think Dave knew she was in love with the guy. You know what I mean? So she probably took on this, role to probably prove to herself, I can plan this wedding, this will prove that I don't really feel anything and all this type of stuff. My thing is, if you want a wedding that fast, they should have handled that. I'm sorry. And if they couldn't afford someone, I just wouldn't have taken that on. I think that's just too much on a person, you know, especially being that it's not like they don't know this girl works. I don't know. I have issues with this because if you want a wedding that fast, then maybe y'all should have just flew to Vegas if you want to be married that fast. But they wanted some big fancy wedding. Then I'm like, my thing is, then you should have planned it. But I think Amanda did this to herself. So I can't really feel bad for her because you shouldn't take on too much stuff like that. It seems just horrible. You're in love with a person, they're marrying your sister, and you gonna plan the wedding? Oh gosh. So she goes over, she acts as if she's talking, scolding the waiter, but she's not. She's just having regular conversation. It's just to appease the mother, because the mother's a bitch. And she winds up getting a glass of bottle of champagne and taking it over to where her mother was and pouring her champagne because that's all she cared about. So anyway, she then goes over to Taylor. Taylor is right next to Robert, and we find out Robert's only about 10 years older. So she's 28, he's about 38. And he is the very much younger brother of Taylor's dad. So Taylor's whining because Taylor is one of those people that she's a beautiful girl, but she likes her books. She's very antisocial. She does not want to get dressed up. She likes to be home with her dog. And so for her coming out, this is a sacrifice and everyone needs to be thankful. And she says that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Amanda then says to Robert, I'm glad that you could come. He asks her how are you? She was like, I'm fine, like why would I not be, And it kind of pissed her off. And it was because this guy, she feels like when he looks at her, he looks through her, you know? And so remember, she's trying to put up this facade that she's okay. And this is a person that could potentially see through that, and she doesn't want that. You know what I mean? And he watches her so intently it freaks her out. So she got through most of the reception, and she was just thinking like, if I can just get through this, I'll be okay. She doesn't want to be pining over her sister's husband. We then switch to Robert's POV. When I love when they do that. So Robert, it's making him uncomfortable how much he's watching Amanda. We get a little backdrop, and when he was in London, he was making nasty amounts of money. His mother fell sick, she passed, and he's decided to set up shop here. He still has a really great job, still has tons of money. He doesn't do relationships. He's only had two real ones, maybe, kind of, in his whole life. And he basically saw how his parents' marriage was, how his brother's marriage imploded, and the different friends around him. And he just doesn't want to do that. So he's decided that form of an attachment, he just doesn't want to do it because it always seems to end in some type of an explosion. And so he will stick to the companionship when he wants it. And for him, it's good enough. The problem is Amanda intrigues him, and women normally don't do that. Or shall we say, the women he's been with, they don't normally do that to him. And he cannot figure her out. And he knows she has this, hard facade, and he just can't figure out why it's there. And so I'm thinking, well, maybe based on their conversation, I think this is just my prediction. I'm thinking he kind of maybe clocked that she was feeling something a little bit more for her friend based on the fact that she was dressed like it was almost like a date. I think he kind of picked up on that. And I think he picked up on the disappointment. It was just kind of like something. I'm thinking he picked up on it. I could be wrong. Especially with him asking her, "Are you okay?" That's what makes me think he might have picked up on it. Could be wrong. Don't know. His niece Taylor winds up saying, like, "Why are you staring at her so much?" And he's like, "I'm just curious because something seems to be going on with her." And he's like, "I can't figure it out." And Taylor's like, "Oh, it's just all the wedding stuff she had to do in a month. That's all. It's a lot of pressure. She's just wiped." And he just goes, "Oh, okay." Because he doesn't do the deep feeling conversation, neither does his niece Taylor. So he leaves the conversation at that. He then watches our girl Amanda. He sees her hug Dave. And in that moment, the look on her face, he understood exactly what was going on with her. So I think he didn't fully know, but when she made this look, he figured out what was going on. So then we switch back to Amanda's POV. Dave's hugging her. He's thanking her for all of her help. He says how great it is that she's, like his sister now. And this is very painful for Amanda to hear. And so she's just trying to get away from him. She says some sweet things like, "Of course I would do it for the two of you, anything for the two of you." And she's finally able to get away from him, and she goes out and tries to collect herself. Our boy Robert pops up behind her, and he gives her some champagne. He lets her know that he knows what's wrong with her. He says to her, "Let me get you drunk." And she's like, "Why would I let you get me drunk?" But when she looks at his face, she knows that he knows. And for the first time, when she looks at him, again, it's just someone, this dude can see inside of her. And she always felt uncomfortable when she would be around him because he seemed to just notice too much about her, you know? And so she realizes, damn it, he knows. And our boy Robert says some really nice things to her. And he says, the Dave dude, he seems like a nice guy. And he says, "But I think you developed feelings, or what you fell for was kind of like what you thought he could be." You know? This made her, a little uncomfortable hearing him say this. And for him to say, "Let me get you drunk," again, this is someone saying, "I see what you're in need of. Let me take care of you." And no one really tries to take care of her. You know what I'm saying? And so in that moment, she decides, you know what? Just gonna let go, and I'm gonna just get drunk. Our girl is drunk. She says she's only tipsy, but this bitch is drunk, okay? She's staring at an empty glass. She's drunk. So she asked him, they had their little back and forth banter. And then she winds up asking him to dance. He said no. She said, "Don't you like me?" He said, "I do like you, but I don't dance." And so he's like, "Come back." He's like, "Drink some water." She was like, "Why won't you just let me be drunk?" And she's like, "I want to dance." So she decides she's going to go get this guy named Charles to dance with her. And If he feels some type of way, Robert's gonna have to deal with it because she tried to dance with him, you know? And so she goes and she dances with Charles. We then switch back to Robert's POV, and he's kind of peeved that she's dancing with this guy, Charles Kensington. Even though he knows that he could have been dancing with her, he's not a good dancer, he says. And so he didn't do it. Thankfully, it was an upbeat song, so there wasn't any slow grinding or anything going on. So then afterwards, she comes back over to him. She asked him to dance again. She kept asking him, and he's like, no means no. And she's like touching on him, and he held his ground. He's like, you only want. What did he say? He's like, you only want to dance with me because you're drunk. And she says, that's not true. He says, have you ever asked me to dance before? She said, no. He says, point proven. She calls him an asshole. She's pissed off. He gives her some water to drink. She calls him an asshole again. And he says, some people are just born that way. Some people are just born assholes. We switch back to Amanda and Dave and Stacy. They're gonna leave. They've left for their honeymoon. Taylor, she's left because she was ready to go back home to be with her dog. And then since he isn't dancing with her, and she's had about 3 glasses of water now, she's starting to kind of, mine's starting to clear up a little bit. But her eyes are heavy. She feels like she's about to fall asleep. He's like, I think it's time to go, and it's time for you to go. And she went over to say goodbye to her mom. And again, the mom wants to be the center of attention. Just too much. But anyway, she couldn't drive. He was like, I'll come back and get you. He hadn't had anything to drink in 2 hours because he was pacing himself. So then he takes her to her townhouse, takes her to her room. He's like, do you want me to take your shoes off? You know, she's like, please, you could take the shoes off, but I'm too tired to take my clothes off. But then he goes and gets her some more water and he tells her to drink it when she wakes up. And then she's like, I want out of this dress. So he helps her get out of the dress, gives her a shirt to put on. She expressed how hurt she felt and the heartbreak that she feels. He tells her it'll go away. It wasn't real. It was just a dream. And she's like, what I felt was real. He said, I know, but it wasn't, and you'll get over it. And she says, no, I won't. And he said, yes, you will. He says, because I'm not going to let you stay like this. Like, he's going to help her get over this. And she did find comfort. Again, here we are, someone wanting to take care of her and help her. And she found comfort in that. And before he made it to the door, she was sound asleep. We fast forward about 3 weeks. Amanda's with her friend Ariana, but they call her Ree. And she, again, is another person they went to school with. Ariana owns, we'll call her Ree. That's what they called her. So Ree owns a bridal shop at this place that's about an hour outside of Richmond. And Amanda's cousin is getting married. And so she's getting her bridesmaid's dress. And this place, she's getting fitted, and Ree wants the gossip, right? She wants to find out what's going on with everyone. She also knew that Amanda had a crush on Dave. So she also wanted to know, like, how are you holding up with that? And she tells her, she was sad, but she's okay. She's getting better. And she says, a little distance has helped her, kind of realize that it's gonna be okay. That's not fully true. This girl is still hurting on the inside, but she doesn't want to be that honest with her friends because she doesn't want people to worry about her, you know? Again, I'm wondering if this friend knew. It seems like you got to think Taylor knew, this friend knew. I feel like more people knew than what she thought. I don't think this was really that much of a secret because they're all asking like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Like they knew you had a thing for this dude. So I'm just kind of curious. I don't know. That's just kind of, she didn't keep this as under wraps as she thought she did. So did Dave know? I don't know. I don't know. She has been thinking a lot about Robert Castleman, and so she winds up telling her about what happened with that situation. She's like, I didn't sleep with him, but she was embarrassed because she was so drunk, you know, and all that type of stuff. But the friend Bree was like, well, I'm just glad he didn't take advantage of you. That's good. She's like, I would hate for, Taylor's uncle to be that type of dude. So then Amanda comes back to Richmond. She has dinner with Taylor and another friend of theirs named Serena. Now, Serena went to school with them as well. Serena is a divorcee and she has a small child. She got married when she was 18 and she's complaining about her ex. She's not able to come out as much because, between work and the kid, she normally can't. But the ex has a child this weekend, so she's able to come out and have a little girls' night. So they're at an Italian restaurant. It's not this rowdy place, which apparently our girl Amanda does not like those type of places. They're eating and drinking some Chianti, and Taylor says, should we get another bottle? And she was about to say no, and Taylor made a comment about her getting drunk with Taylor's uncle. And then guess who walks in? Taylor's uncle, Robert. He also has a date. She doesn't really try to look, but because she knows if she looks, she's going to linger too much. She's trying not to give anything away. And so Taylor's like, oh, he's back to normal, blah, blah, blah. Taylor didn't mention how she had never seen her uncle the way he was with Amanda at the wedding. Like, she did say, like, he seemed really engaged in the, conversation. Like, he was, like, just so invested. And he's never really like that with people. And so that was the comment basically that Taylor had made about it. And so Amanda was like, probably just felt bad for me because I was drunk. And blah, blah, blah. She left it at that. So, of course, Robert comes over, says hello to everyone. He doesn't make eye contact with Amanda. And she notices it. And it isn't until he walks away that he makes eye contact. And she felt everything with that eye contact. It was very meaningful. The way he looked at her is the way she describes it. And so he goes back to his date. And since since he's clearly with another woman, he clearly wasn't affected the way she was. We switch to Robert's POV and we fast forward a little. We are now at the wedding of Margot, who is Amanda's cousin. And he said, he doesn't really know why he's there, right? Because he's not close with Margot, but he knows that Margot is Amanda's cousin, which means he knows Amanda's a bridesmaid, and that's the honest reason why he came. He's invited because, Taylor's uncle, X, Y, and Z, but, he could have declined it. But he came because he wanted to see Amanda. So sure enough, he's watching her ass again. And finally, when they get to the cutting of the cake, he figures, okay, that's a respectable time to leave. But as he's leaving, he sees Amanda go out back, which looks like like a garden area, and he finds himself going to where she is. And so he goes out there, and they have their back and forth, and she's cold, but she's stubborn, doesn't ask for a jacket, he gives it to her anyway, and she just starts talking to him, that she doesn't want to repeat getting drunk like she was at that last wedding, but she wants to do something different. And they go back and forth a little bit more, and she said to him, I'm not in love with my sister's husband. He's like, okay. And she said that, how did she put it? She says something's happening. She doesn't know really what it is. but she feels different. And she asked him if he would have sex with her. His chest is pounding, like he's like, oh my God. And she goes, don't worry. He took too long to answer. She says, just forget I asked. And he goes, yes. She's like, yes? He's like, yeah. She's like, well, what will we do it? And she's never had a one night stand. And he suggests like they could do it in a back room there. He's like, no, we might get caught. He's like, we can go to your place or mine. And she's like, my place. It's closer. And so he's sitting there, and it's like these warning signs. It's kind of like, okay, this is what he wants, but it feels like this is going to wind up being this horrible mistake. They go to her place, and she's feeling the nerves, okay? And when they get in her garage, she asked him, like, are you sure? You know? Like, let me know. And he was like, I'm sure. And he wanted to know if she was sure. He was like, listen, I know you said this trying to be spontaneous. He said, but if there's any part of you that does not want to do this, don't feel like you have to go through with it. Okay? And the little bit of anxiety she had, it went away because he was legit trying to give her an out. Like, if she didn't want to do it, she could say no. And she was like, no, I'm sure. So they go inside. Both are nervous. She's never done a one night stand. She doesn't know how to start. And she's like, do you want something to drink? Like, what? I don't know how to start this. So he starts kissing her. And when he kissed her, it was beyond, okay, any way she'd ever been kissed. She broke away, and she's like, oh my gosh, she had to catch her breath. And she was like, should we move to the bedroom? He was like, why? She's like, I don't know. I just kind of feel weird having an orgasm next to the blender. He's like, why not? So he goes back to kissing her, winds up flicking her nipples. She's about to come just from that. And then he fingers her, makes her come while he's kissing on her neck. She's talking the whole time, but he likes it. She can tell because when she talks, he does these grunts of approval. And so then afterwards, he was talking to her, and he was saying, just write it out, just write it out. He was like, let me make you come again. And she was like, let's move this to the bedroom. She's like, she didn't want to fall. She was about to fall. So they get to the bedroom, and she's like, what, like, we take our clothes off, or do you want me to put on lingerie? Like, what are you into? And he's like, think it's cute, right? Like, it makes him laugh. Because he's like, why do you think I want you to take off your clothes just to go and put more clothes on? And she's like, I don't know. It could be your thing. I don't know. He tells her, I want you naked. And so she had on some underwear. She's like, well, it's not fair. You have on more clothes. So she starts taking off his shirt. He's taking off his pants, socks. And so then they go back to kissing. Now old girl's ready to fuck. Okay? She's had enough. She's like, they're touching on each other. She's grabbing on him. It's super hot. He was terrified he was going to, like, come too fast. She's bringing up some emotions. He doesn't know, like, what is happening to me. So he gets a condom, and she's like, where did you get a condom? Because she's thinking, like, did he bring a condom to the wedding? He's like, no, I got it out of the car, and I put it in my pocket, before I came. And she's like, oh, okay. And then, of course, after that, they have a nice heart fuck. He makes her come twice, and then afterwards, tells him how amazing it was, and he tells her that was the best I've ever had in my life. And he didn't want to move. He wanted to stay inside of her, but the condom might start leaking. So his mind, he goes, takes care of that. And this is different. He definitely feels different with this, and he's a little freaked out by it, which I can understand. If you're not used to feeling anything when you do that, and then here you are feeling shit, it'll fuck with anybody. I get it. We switch back to Amanda. He's putting on his clothes and she wants him to stay, but she doesn't want to ask him to do that. She knows, she only said a one night stand, right? And she also understands that he only does casual. And so they never said anything about doing this more than once. So she doesn't want to appear attached. So she doesn't say anything to him about staying. And there's another wedding coming up, and he's like said something about seeing her soon. And after that, he left, locked the door, but he was like, I locked the door behind me. And when he's gone, she thought about, wanting to call a friend to tell them about what happened. But then she's like, no, this is something she'll just keep for herself. So then we fast forward about 5 weeks, and Amanda's at the bridal shop again. So there's another wedding coming up, another friend. I'm like, good grief, it's a lot of weddings. So this friend, I forget their name, but she does say that each dress is getting nicer. Because with her sister's wedding, it was all poofy, wasn't very flattering. But these last two dresses have looked really great on her. And I like that because I don't really like when people like get these ugly bridesmaids dresses because I feel like you're doing it on purpose. Because if it's ugly, you're not going to tell me you think that's cute. You're doing that because you want the focus to completely be on you and you don't want someone to outdo you, which I think is sad if you feel like you got to do that on your own wedding. But anyway, I digress. So after that, Serena's there and she's talking about how, this guy at the gym kept asking her out. Finally, she told him she was on a 5 year she was doing 5 years of celibacy, and that got him to leave her alone. And she's like, she just doesn't want to date. She's got a friend named Keith. Keith is someone, if she needs something done around the house, X, Y, and Z, he's like her best friend. He'll do it. And that's probably why she doesn't feel like she really wants to be in a relationship. Because she still has this closeness with someone, but it doesn't require anything else with it, no real work. So that makes sense, why she's like, I don't really want to date. Amanda starts talking, and Amanda apparently has been on like 3 dates with some decent guys. One of them was a lawyer that they thought she would have really hit it off with, but she keeps declining these dates. She keeps saying no to them. And the girls are like, well, what's going on? Is there somebody else? At first, they asked her, like, are you still hung up on Dave? And she was like, no, 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 no. Like, completely over that. And they're like, well, is there someone new? And she's like, no. But then she brought up the thing about Robert, getting her drunk, and she winds up telling them about the one night stand. So the girls are gagged, honey, okay? And she's like, it was just a one night stand, nothing more. We find out also that after that night, he did text her, and the way she responded to him, it's like she felt like he was just being nice. So she replied being nice, but not sounding like she wanted anything either, you know? And the truth is, she doesn't admit this to the girls, but the truth is, she's been saying no to the other guys because she just knows they're not going to measure up to him sexually. They're not. And that's why she's been doing it, saying no. We switch to Robert's POV and we find out his ass has not been dating. He has not asked anyone out. He has been going to work. He comes home late, like around 7 or 8, and watches his news, and that's about it. So his niece Taylor comes over with some cake that her mom had made, and the reason behind the cake visit is everyone's concerned. They are used to him going out. He's not been doing it, and they want to know what's going on. He's like, I just took a break. Taylor's like, you're being different. She's like, something's happened. She says, did anything happen with Amanda? Because I see how you watch her. He was like, no, 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 nothing happened, He did like the fact that clearly Amanda hadn't told Taylor, she done told some people, she just ain't told Taylor. But he denied anything happened. And when he texted her the day after they had their one night stand, which is what it's being labeled, he was trying to see if maybe she wanted something more, but I think he didn't word it the correct way. You know? He says, well, in the response, I guess her response didn't seem like she wanted anything else, so he just kind of let it go, didn't say anything else. He, of course, does not tell Taylor any of this shit. He just tries to convince Taylor that he's fine, nothing's going on, he's just taking a little break from dating. Taylor does tell him Amanda is amazing, so if you decide to try something with her, just know I'm totally on board. He's like, that's sweet, but I'm not in love, there's no feelings, everything's fine. And he said all this even though he doesn't believe it himself. There is a wedding coming up. He's invited to it. At first, he doesn't know if he's going to go, but then he decides he's going to go and he's going to be nonchalant with her. So that way, Amanda will know he's not trying to pursue her and it'll make everything easier. I'm like, you're right. They're at the wedding. Amanda wants to talk. She wants to be pleasant with him, but he is avoiding her like a plague. And it's clear that he's avoiding her. Clear he's trying not to make any eye contact with her. So eventually she goes outside on the terrace when she sees him go out there and she lets him have it because she's pissed. And she's like, what the hell? Why are you acting like this? Like, I don't need to be treated like trash. And he's like, how am I treating you like trash? I haven't done anything. Even though he knows he's been doing shit, right? He knows he's been avoiding her. And so she says, I thought we could at least been decent with each other. You know, she's upset with herself that she's spazzing out on him. But she tells him, like, I'm not going to fall for you. Like, you don't have to treat me like that. You know what I mean? And he tells her, you're just mad because I'm not falling all over you like the other men do. And that gets her so infuriated. She throws champagne in his face, walks off the terrace. Everyone is watching, and she's like, damn it. So Amanda's on the phone the next day with Taylor. Taylor's like, I cannot handle this. I cannot have people in my circle not getting along. It raises my anxiety. It freaks me out. She's like, I've already cleaned my whole house. Like, you've got to make this right. And so she agreed that she would call him or whatever. And they're going to be going to this wedding in a week or so, which is on a yacht. Robert's going because he knows the groom from grad school and they know the girl from school. And so it's like, you got to make this right. It's Taylor's thing. And she's like, fine, I will call or text him. I'll apologize, you know? So she gets off the phone, folds up a few shirts, doorbell rings. She's thinking it's probably a delivery person. No, it is our boy, Robert Castleman. And so he saw her because she was just kind of standing still. And he's like, open the door, I can see you. So he gives her a legit, honest apology. He tells her, he's like, I'm sorry. I wanted to call, but then I felt that was too cowardly and I should just tell you face to face. He was like, I'm sorry for how I acted. I thought I was making it easier for you, but really I was trying to make it easier for myself. He's like, normally when I'm done with someone, I don't see them, but because we move in the same social circles, I can't do that with you. And she appreciated the honesty from him, shocked her. And she said that's probably the best apology I've ever had. He's like, it was a good one. She's like, don't get cocky. So then he comes up with the suggestion that they go to the wedding together because they're both going anyway. You know, everyone's coming to the rehearsal dinner on the night before. So we might as well show a united front. And she wanted to say no because for her, she doesn't just want to be friends, but at the same time, she agrees. She feels like if she doesn't agree, it's going to appear as if she wants more, and she's trying not to appear as if she wants more, even though she does. So he tells her, we'll talk about plans and stuff like that later. He leaves. She's concerned because he's talking about, again, still being friends. She realizes that's not what she wants with him. And it's like, oh my gosh. But she also realizes she never felt this way about Dave. You know? And what she is afraid of is that she's fallen for someone again and they don't want her in that way. So this is like the Dave situation. And she doesn't know if she's going to survive going through that type of bullshit again. They go on this trip. It's pleasant, okay? It didn't feel forced. Their interactions in the car, like Amanda doesn't feel like every moment needs to be filled with talking. He does as well, so it worked. She played different types of music to get his responses, stuff like that. And he winds up asking her, was she really in love with Dave? Or was it just the idea of him? She had to think about it for a minute, and then she said, honestly, I don't miss him the way that I thought I would. It's just like I miss who I used to be with him. And Robert said, well, maybe that's because you were pretending to be someone that you really weren't. She got offended by this. He's like, no, hear me out. He's like, if you would have been with him, you would have railroaded him. He's a decent guy. He's nice. But he's also just go with the flow. And you would have been bored within a year because you would have railroaded him. You're very strong and you need a partner. You need someone who can match you, not someone you can run over. And so him marrying Stacy makes sense because Stacy needs someone to lead her. That'll force him into the role, whereas with you, he never would have even tried. And she thought about what he said, and it was actually pretty good. And she's like, you know, how do you have such insight, you know? Like, how are you good at this stuff and you don't do relationships? And he's like, because I watch, you know? I stay on the sidelines. And she says, so you stand on the sidelines, be honest. Does that make you happy? Keeping everyone at a distance. She was shocked by his honesty. He says, in all honesty, it doesn't. Because I'm not developing a close relationship with someone. So no, I'm not happy with that. She then talks about her pageant days. We find out her mom forced her into pageants. She did it for as long as she could. And she was talking about it. She thought he knew. And he was like, no, you got to remember, he's 10 years older. How would he know about this stuff, you know? But she's so used to talking to friends her age, and they all remember that, you know? And he, of course, just had the sentiment of, that's crazy. Like, your mom, if you didn't really like it, your mom should have been okay with you not doing it, you know? Like, why isn't anyone asking you what it is that you really want, you know? So, a truck starts coming over, and it's pushing them into the shoulder. It's getting bumpy. It looks like they're headed for a ditch. And I'm going, God, the second book in a row with an accident. She hears, are you okay? Are you okay? She's slowly coming to, and she's finally able to respond. It's a gargle at first. He is freaking out. And then finally she's like, what happened? And he's like, a damn truck ran us off the road, which made the airbags come out. So her body does hurt. And when she's finally able to open her eyes, she was happy because, you know, she clearly was alive. But then she sees, you know, he's got blood on his face. And she's like, oh my God, are you okay? What, where are you hurt? He's like, I'm okay. It was just from the airbag. And he's like, I might have sprained a wrist from the steering wheel or whatever. And she's like, oh my gosh, but they survived. And he calls her Sunshine too, which I think is sweet. So we switch to his POV, and they go to the hospital. He was really worried about her having a concussion, and so they stayed there for quite a while until they both were cleared. And then she still wanted to go, so he got a rental car so they could make it to Hilton Head. And so he dropped her luggage off at her room. He wanted to ask if he could come in, but he didn't say it. He went to his room, took a shower, kind of just looking at himself in the mirror. He knows he's falling for her, and it started a long time ago. He wants to be with her, and there's a knock on the door. It's her, and she couldn't sleep, and she had a tough time explaining it. She's like, I just feel so rattled, I can't sleep. And she asked if it was okay if he says, if you could sleep here, come here. He's like, yeah. And she's like, it doesn't have to be sex or anything. I just, he's like, no, it's fine, it's fine. So she goes and brushes her teeth, and then they get in bed, and she asked him, right or left. He says, normally the left, but he can do either one. And she says, well, she likes the right. So they get in bed, they weren't touching, and she's like, I'm going to say something that sounds like it's out of a movie. He tells her, I can just hold you. And when he did it, she felt calm. He felt calm. It was just that need for that physical connection. And again, because you don't always have, it's not about sex in that moment. I think they were both very much rattled with everything that happened, on top of all of these feelings that are happening on both sides. And holding each other, it settled them, which I think is sweet. She wakes up in the middle of the night. It's dark. She has to remember where the hell she is. Um, he wasn't in bed. He had gotten up to use the bathroom. He comes out. He asks her if she's okay. She goes to tinkle. She comes out, and he asked her again if she was okay, and they had a little talk. And she asked him, like, why do you keep asking me, am I okay? And he says, because something seems off, and I want to make sure you're okay. And she's like, but how do you know something's off? And he goes down the line, and he tells her, he says, I know that what you give to people and what you really are aren't the same. And I know that the reason you liked Dave was because he seemed decent, and he seemed like he would treat you decently, you know? But there's a part of yourself that you hide because you're afraid it's not going to be accepted. And it's the truth. Think about who her mother is, okay? you know? And so she winds up, they wind up kissing. She gets on top of him, and they're grabbing on each other. He was about to come just by doing that. And he's like, hold on, I need a minute. And he asked her, like, do you want to use a condom? She told him they don't have to. She's on the pill. And he was happy about that. So then they go at it. They have this incredible fuck. Everything feels right in the world. She was concerned that she had hurt his sprained wrist, but he's like, no, 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 no. I put the pressure on the other wrist. I'm okay. I'm okay. She wakes up the next morning, and it felt good to be in his arms. She thought he was asleep, but he hadn't been. So she was like doing all these weird movements trying to scratch this itch in her back. And he's like, why are you doing all these crazy moves? Is this what you do in the morning? She's like, I thought you were asleep. He's like, no. So he winds up scratching the spot for her. She's got to go ahead and leave because she's got to get in hair and makeup starting at 10:30, even though the wedding doesn't start until 2. And they're like holding each other, and she's like, okay, I gotta go, I gotta go. And his dick was getting hard because he was telling her how beautiful she was and everything. It was real sweet. And she had an idea. And so when she went to like grab his dick, he's like, you do not have to do that, blah, blah, blah. She let him know, I want to do it. Period. So she winds up giving him this great blowjob. He came on his stomach, and he was tired because by the time she left, he was passed out. So she gets back to her room. There's a text from her sister, Stacy, that was like, "Call me," all caps. And so she had texted Stacy, letting her know about the minor accident, but her sister was still worried about her. So she explained to her sister what happened. Her sister was like, "Are you really okay?" She's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I'm fine." She's like, "Okay, okay." And then she asks how her and Dave were, and she's like, "We're okay." But the way she said it, clearly something was going on. So Stacy admits that they had had an argument the night before. She wanted to go out to dinner. He wanted to stay in and play video games. And she gave in to him playing video games. And again, Stacy's not a really combative person. She likes to give him what he wants. And she made the comment, Amanda, I wish I was more like you. But Amanda says he wouldn't want you if you were like me. You need to be who you are, but you also need to make sure that you're not just giving him everything he wants, but that you're getting what you want too. So this time he got to play video games. Next time we do what you want to do. That's how it's got to, it should be. And she's like, "You're right, you're right." And then the sister was talking about how she had fallen in love with Dave, and how it just felt so different than anyone else, and telling her sister, you'll know it when it happens to you. And sure enough, she knows, she's already feeling that. That's how she feels when it comes to Robert. And so I'm like, okay, what is she going to do with this? Unfortunately, she does still feel as if she's going down that same road of falling for someone and the feeling's not mutual, and she's just going to end up with heartbreak. Poor baby. So she gets ready for the wedding. It's really windy. They do the whole wedding thing. Um she got some text messages from Robert, asking her, blah blah, how she was. Just different little things. And after the wedding, they do the reception. He seemed kind of distant, she felt, and she started getting angry again. She had about 3 glasses of champagne, and she was doing her pageant day poses to make her friends laugh. But Robert didn't seem, he laughed a little, but it wasn't like how everyone else was laughing. And this just boiled over for her. She was upset. She said she was going to the bathroom, but really she went to another part of the yacht to try and collect herself, because again, it felt like she had done it again, gone and broke her own heart. So we switched to Robert's POV, and for him, the day was great. Like, he decided to, like, kind of, he didn't want to push anything with her. He was trying to, keep it cool, and he didn't want to just to assume that just because they shared that wonderful night and everything, that anything had really changed. If she needed him to be a friend, then that's what he would be for her. You know, that's it. But then when he saw her kind of break before when she was with her friends, when she said she had to go to the bathroom. And so he followed her, and he saw her crying. And at first he thought, oh shit, like she's probably still in love with Dave. And that broke his heart, but he's in love with her. And he was like, gonna run away, but he's like, nope, I would rather fix whatever's going on with her than see her in pain. So he goes up to her and he's like, tell me what you need from me. And she's like, what? He's like, just tell me what you need from me. He tells her, I love you. Whatever I can do to help, I'll do it. And she's like, what did you say? Did you just say you love me? He's like, yeah, you couldn't tell? She's like, no, I didn't know. You have to tell people this stuff. So she told him she loved him too, and it was like really super sweet. He thought she knew. He thought she clearly saw, that he was being different than how he was with anyone else. So clearly she knew, but it was nothing like that. But they had a really sweet moment, and she told him she loved him again. It was really sweet. They go back to the guest, and he's holding her hand, and so this is definitely them coming out. They're a couple. They had a wonderful time. Everyone had to get off because the couple had to go off on their yacht for their honeymoon. And so when they got back to the hotel, they of course had a nice hot fuck. And then she went, took a long bath, and she's just so happy. And then when she comes out, they have another talk, and he tells her, you know, I'm serious about this. Like, I'm not dating anyone else. I don't want to date anyone else. I like see forever with you. That's it. And she was like, okay, good. I don't want to date anyone else. I love you too. But I like that he said that because it was just kind of like he didn't want no more misunderstandings because clearly they'd had a few. So I was glad he did that. And then they had a nice kiss. We fast forward 6 months. She's at another wedding, but thank goodness she's not in it. She's just a guest. She didn't have to do anything but show up. She runs into Serena. Serena's complaining about her ex. Poor baby. He had their child watch a horror film, and the baby been up all week with nightmares. And I think that father is doing it on purpose. He might not be, but it seems like he is. Anyway, uh, Amanda's like, do you really feel like you can never trust a man again? And she's like, I can trust my dad. I can trust my brothers. I can trust Keith, but no one else. And she just hopes that changes for Serena, you know? And Serena asks how things were with her and Robert. She's like, we have our ups and downs, but honestly, it's good. It's going really good. And Serena's like, I think he's going to pop the question soon. And Amanda was like, listen, this man has spent most of his life running away from commitment. She is not trying to rush him into anything. Does she want to marry him? Absolutely. But she's not going to rush him into anything. Just when he's ready for it to happen, she's ready to. Amanda goes back out and she finds our boy Robert, and he's actually out on the terrace where they had their initial thing where he was like, I'm gonna get you drunk. And so she follows him out there, and again, it was nostalgic. This is the same venue where her sister got married, and this is like where it started. And he was telling her when she came out about, she had shivered, and he's like, do you want my jacket? And they kind of replayed the whole conversation of her saying, did I ask for it? And she's like, well, what are you out here, like, what are you out here for? And he starts to say what he's out there for, and she realizes, oh my gosh, are you serious? And sure enough, he gets on one knee. He told her, I love you, sunshine. Will you marry me, be my sunshine forever? She, of course, extremely happy, told him yes. It was really beautiful, a really full circle moment. And that is how it ends. They actually got to do a little joke when he was getting up. She made the comment, because, he's 10 years older than her. And she was like, are you going to be able to get up? So they're going to have a good, fun life together. So the next book in the series, if you all want to read it, it is going to be Serena and Keith's story, which I kind of figured it was going to be because she kept mentioning Keith, even though she's saying he's her friend. I was like, something's going to pop off. So if you want to read, again, the other books in the series, those are the individual stories of all these different people in this friend group. As we can see, there's a lot. But what did you all think? I really liked it. I thought it was super cute. I, you know, I kind of wanted a conversation. Maybe it would have been too messy, but I kind of wanted a conversation where Dave kind of admitted that he knew she had a crush on him, but he knew they were better as friends or something. I don't know. I kind of really wanted that. Or maybe even the sister admitting that she thought that she had a thing for him, and or something. I kind of wanted that a little bit, but maybe that would have been too messy. I don't know. Um, but I really liked the character Robert Castleman. Um, he was fun, and it just goes to show you people will do what it is they want to do when they want to do it. That's it. You know, if a person is still on a path of just playing the field, that's where they are. And maybe they'll stay that way because maybe they'll never meet a person that makes them feel like, I want something different, you know? But it's not anything you can force. You know, with all of these books, that's what we get. There's nothing you can't force it. It has to be natural. So I really liked it. I thought it was a little cute read. Let me know what you all think down in the comment section. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook or journal, I do have those available, and the links are going to be available down below in the description section. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And as always, I truly do thank you all for your support, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.